The city of Spokane, Washington has made it a requirement that landlords not only register their properties, but also obtain a small business license in order to operate. And if they don't, they can't evict tenants or raise the rent. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Washington. It has to do with the city of Spokane, and it has to do with this rental registration push that they are having, okay? Basically, they want all landlords to register with the city, but not only that, but they also want them to obtain a small business license in order to operate. So I have mentioned many times that landlords are businesses, but we're not a traditional business, okay? And I think that a business license requirement is going to deter a lot of people from wanting to be landlords. It's going to add additional costs to landlords who are already facing too many expenses, and it's going to make it so that they can further push more regulations upon us if they put it into place. So a lot of landlords, they say, hey, I'm not going to register, no big deal. Well, they have a penalty for doing that. And that penalty is you can't evict any tenants if you aren't registered, and you cannot raise the rent on them if you're not registered. Now, talk about a joke, okay? They are dictating on whether you can remove a tenant based upon if you are registered with the city or not. So yeah, you got to pay, I don't know how much the registration or the business license costs, but you're going to have to pay a bunch of money if you have a bad tenant in your unit and you're trying to get rid of them. Now, I don't agree with it. I think that all this regulation, it has too many negative consequences. I've mentioned that many times before. It's going to have unintended consequences, okay? And the unintended consequences that I imagine is, right, they're like, oh, well, you just register, everything will be fine. And people are like, you know what, nah, I'm not going to register, I'm just going out of business. So they're going to have less rental properties available for the people who need them. Yeah, Great job you did there. In the middle of a housing shortage, you're deterring people from being landlords. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So what do you think of a law that makes it illegal for a landlord to evict a tenant unless they are registered with the city and have a business license? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is actually going to help anything? Remember, they create these laws in order to, we're going to get those bad slumlords and we're going to punish them, right? But remember, slumlords make up a minuscule percentage of the landlords out there. Minuscule. Less than 1%. Good landlords make up the other 99. So the good landlords now have to jump through all these hoops, and they don't want to do it. They are like, man, you know what? I just don't even want to be a landlord here in Spokane. I'm going to find somewhere where I don't have to do all this nonsense. And that's what I would suggest you do, okay? Get the hell out of there. Because you know what? Things are only going to get worse. And you can tell because every year they got new anti-landlord laws that are being passed. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from Inlander.com, and it says, Spokane rental units are required to be registered, but not everyone knows that. Now they might have to pay the fee. And that's the other thing, like they mentioned it there. Not every single landlord keeps track of every single change in the landlord-tenant law that comes about each year. They keep changing the law. Sometimes they pass new laws multiple times in a year, yet they expect us to be on top of it. And, sometimes a lot of small landlords in particular will fall out of compliance without knowing it, with no malicious intent, and end up suffering the consequences. And that's what I hate seeing. So let me read the article now. Whether you agree with it or not, Spokane's rental registry is law. Under an ordinance passed unanimously last year, all landlords are required to obtain a small business license and register their property with the city. But not everyone is complying. Some landlords vocally oppose the registry, while others just don't feel like their particular situation necessitates a business license. Others still don't know about the requirements and don't realize they're out of compliance. To incentivize registration and add consequences for not complying, Spokane City Council voted 5-2 to update the municipal code last month. Now landlords who are not licensed and registered are not allowed to raise rent or evict tenants. Yeah, so like they said, a lot of landlords, they had no clue about the law or that it even applies to them. And they're probably talking about people like Imagine you live in a house, right? And you're renting out a spare bedroom in the house. Now, a lot of people, they don't consider themselves to be landlords in that type of situation. They just kind of, hey, I just rent out that spare bedroom over there. Well, you are a landlord according to the city of Spokane, and that means you have to have a business license and you have to register your property. Period. Okay? There's no exceptions to that. You know, it doesn't matter if you're only renting out a single bedroom in your entire house. You are now going to have to jump through all these hoops. And you know what? That person might just be like, you know what? Screw that. I'm done. I'm done. You know, I'm not dealing with this nonsense. I don't want to do all that. Not for, you know, a couple hundred extra bucks that I make. You know, I'm really just not feeling it. And you know what? There's going to be a lot of people like that. There are. So, yeah, I do believe that this will have a negative impact. It will not have the impact they think it will have, right? It won't discourage the bad actors from being bad. They're just going to continue doing what they're doing. They don't care if they break the law. Remember that. People who are criminals, they don't care if they break the law. That's the whole reason we call them criminals. The people who care if they break the law are us, the law-abiding, good landlords who are doing everything right. And now, when we see these additional hoops we got to jump through, it discourages us from wanting to participate. November and December are the annual renewal periods for the registry. In 2025, code enforcement will start issuing civil infractions to properties that are not in compliance. City Council member Michael Cathcart, who supported the ordinance that created the registry, feels the city hasn't done enough outreach to educate landlords and tenants about it. We haven't told you about it. We don't know how you'd know about it. We've not issued any citations to anybody who hasn't been in compliance to get the word out. But now we're going to jump to this radical sort of nuclear option, Cathcart said before voting against the new restrictions during the October 14th City Council meeting. Supporters of the ordinance said the new consequences are in line with the intent of the registry, which they said benefits both tenants and landlords. Tell me how it benefits landlords, okay? How does a rental registration and a requirement for a business license, how does that benefit me as a landlord? Well, now I can, I'm waiting, right? There's no benefit to me, especially for the good landlords, right? The good landlords are like sitting there like, hey, I already was doing everything right. So the registration, it's not going to make me do anything more. In fact, it will punish me because, you know, maybe I didn't get everything exactly perfect. You know, I was doing everything I thought was right and I got one little thing wrong. Now I'm getting a fine from the city. So I'm getting punished. You know, you're getting punished if you're a good landlord. It does not benefit you at all. How does it benefit the tenants? That's the other thing, right? The tenants are going to have less selection of housing. They're going to have higher rents that are due because, you know what, landlords are going to have to raise their rents to cover the cost of the additional fees. And yeah, I know that they have like some kind of statewide rent control up there, but the rent that they were going to, you know, it might have been, okay, you know, within the limits of the rent increase, I was only going to increase it this much. But now I have to increase it that much because I have to make up for these additional costs. You know what? It's not going to benefit the tenants either. It's not. So, you know what? I think that the only thing this really is going to do, it's a feel-good measure. It's a type of measure that you use to get votes, period. It's something put into place by politicians in order to get votes. They want to look strong. Yeah, look, you know, we're taking care of those bad landlords over here by making them register and making sure their properties are, you know, kept up to a certain standard. Meanwhile, 99% of properties were already up to that standard. And the 1% that weren't, they're not even registering. So what did you actually accomplish? Nothing other than, you know, proving that you are doing something about the problem. So here's my suggestion. And I say this in every video lately. Don't even invest there. Don't waste your time. Do not be a landlord there, you know. Vote with your feet. Go where you're treated better. Period. That's the only thing that you can do. You know, don't let them use and abuse you and treat you like garbage and make it so you can't make any money. You put hundreds of thousands of dollars into an investment into a property in their city. You're providing housing for somebody and they treat you like a villain. And that's complete garbage. So anyway, tell me what you think in the comments section down below.